I thought the weirdest part of trying to get pregnant would be the hormone shots. Or the fertility meditation app with the woman who whispered, "Let your womb bloom," like she was casting a spell. But no. The weirdest part was finding out my husband spent our IVF savings on someone else's boobs. Let me rewind. We'd been trying for a baby for almost 2 years. I was 34, he was 38. My OB told me we were on the later side of normal, which is doctor speak for you better hurry up. So we did everything by the book. Temperature tracking, sober weekends, scheduled sex that felt more like a business meeting than a honeymoon. Still nothing. After 6 months of failed ovulation tests, we decided to go the IVF route. We weren't rich, but we'd been saving. We had about $9,300 set aside in a joint account nicknamed Baby. I had the fertility clinic picked out, a spreadsheet, a freaking color-coded timeline. And then, boom, $7,000 gone overnight. I noticed it during a lazy Sunday scroll. I was checking our balance to see if we could squeeze in sushi that night. I stared at the screen for a solid minute, thinking maybe I'd misread it. I hadn't. There it was, $7,000. Out. Description, elite medical and aesthetics. My first thought, maybe he prepaid for IVF. Maybe he did something sweet and dumb like jump the waitlist. I turned to him on the couch and asked, "Hey, did you do something with the IVF fund?" He blinked, "What, no?" I showed him my phone. His face didn't even twitch. "Oh, that was for Jake." Jake is his best friend. Lifelong. They played football together, got drunk together, probably cried together once in a truck to a Bon Jovi song, whatever. I said, "I'm sorry. What does Jake need from elite medical and aesthetics?" He shrugged. "It's for his girlfriend. She's getting a procedure." I laughed out loud. I actually thought he was joking. He was. "She couldn't afford it," he said. "He didn't want to use his credit card. I fronted it." "With our baby fund," I said. He waved it off, Jake paying us back. I sat there frozen, my brain playing bumper cars with the math. Jake plus aesthetics plus girlfriend, not equal to any version of reality where this is okay. I said, "Do you even hear how insane that sounds?" And he snapped. "Why are you making this a thing? You know I've had your back every time. I just helped out a friend. It's not like we're going tomorrow." My throat went dry. "So you thought helping a friend was more important than our timeline?" He stood up. "God, you're obsessed with the baby thing." That word, obsessed, hit me like a slap. I wasn't obsessed. I was trying to build a family with the man who promised me one. We didn't speak for the rest of the night. The next day I skipped work, not for drama, just to breathe. I stared at the transaction for hours. I looked up the clinic. Elite Medical and Aesthetics specialized in cosmetic enhancements. Liposuction, Botox, breast augmentation, there it was, right on the homepage, feel like the best version of you. And then, I don't know what made me do it, I checked the shared iCloud folder. I'd forgotten he synced his photos automatically. I hadn't looked in months. Big mistake. Nestled between car pics and barbecue selfies were 2 shots taken in a medical consultation room. One was a before pic of a woman in a surgical bra, clearly prepping for breast surgery. The second was taken post-op. Same woman, same room, same timestamp as the transaction. And behind the phone's reflection in the mirror, my husband's watch. The one I gave him for our 5th anniversary. So much for Jake's girlfriend. So much for a favor. So much for us. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just sat there whispering, no, 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 no. Then I laughed, loud and crazy. I laughed until my throat hurt. Because of course this was the ending to our fertility journey. Not a baby, not a positive test, just implants and lies. That night I didn't confront him. I cooked dinner like normal. I even kissed his cheek. But I started planning. Because if he thought he could rob me of motherhood and dignity in one swipe, he clearly didn't know who he married. And if she thought she could write her name across my future in permanent marker, she had another thing coming. By Monday, I had a folder on my desktop labeled Operation Silicone. Inside, screenshots of the bank transaction, timestamps from the photos, metadata showing he had taken them, and a screen recording of him opening the shared iCloud album without realizing I was still linked. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but it felt like armor. Like proof I wasn't crazy. Like if this ever went to court or viral, I'd be ready. I wasn't proud of the next move, but I'd already started slipping down the emotional grease slide of betrayal, so I figured, what's one more notch? I dug into her. Let's call her Marla. Blonde, contour addict, 8 years younger than me and just the kind of woman who says brunch like it's a personality trait. I found her Instagram, private, but her profile pic was all cleavage and poolside margaritas. Cute. Then I found her Venmo, public. Among all the pizza plus bubble tea plus kiss payments, there it was. Thanks, baby, from my husband. 2 days after the $7,000 withdrawal. If that wasn't code for fake boobs and a fake man, I don't know what is. I also found something else. A photo of her at a wine bar, holding a bouquet, captioned, "Surprise from my favorite person." Tagged, Jake. The best friend who supposedly needed a loan. I sat there blinking. Either they were playing the worst cover game in history, or there was no Jake involved at all. I called Jake. Straight up. "Hey," I said, voice fake casual. "Random question. Did you or your girlfriend get plastic surgery recently?" Silence. Then, ooh, what? I laid it out. Because my husband says he gave you $7,000, said it was for a procedure. Jake exhaled. He said, "What now?" I waited. He finally said, "That dude hasn't talked to me in months." And just like that, the house of lies crumbled. Jake wasn't the middleman, he was a scapegoat. A placeholder name so I wouldn't start asking questions, but I had, and now I had answers. That night, I asked my husband what he wanted for dinner. "Maybe tacos," he said, "something easy." I nodded, "Cool, I'll call DoorDash." As soon as he stepped out to take a call, I opened his laptop. No password change, because why would there be? I was the idiot wife, right? Inbox right arrow search right arrow, Marla. And there they were. Over 100 emails. Some were boring, delivery notifications, online orders, but some weren't. One said, "Can't wait to see you out of that compression bra." Another had an attachment, a selfie of her topless post-surgery captioned, "Think she'll notice." I sat in his chair, frozen, staring at the glowing screen while dinner cooled on the table. And the most insane part. I didn't cry. Not then. I just said out loud to no one, "I'm going to burn you alive on the internet." And I meant it. He walked back in mid-sentence, still on the phone. "Yeah, babe, she doesn't suspect a thing." That's when I finally snapped. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just walked right up to him, took the phone out of his hand and whispered, "She does now." His face. The color drained, the call went dead, and for the first time in our marriage, he didn't know what to say. That night he slept on the couch, or pretended to. I know he didn't sleep. Neither did I. I lay in bed and started crafting the real plan. Not revenge, not violence, something better. Ruin by exposure. You think implants are sexy? Let's see how sexy your DMs look when they're projected behind your head at Thanksgiving. You want to gamble with my fertility? Let's see how you handle a DNA report from a fake donor labeled untraceable but generous. Because if he was going to play God with my uterus, I was going to play goddess with his ego. And I wasn't done yet. I spent the next morning doing what any responsible woman on the verge of a scorched earth campaign does. I got coffee, put on waterproof mascara, and walked into the fertility clinic like I was buying real estate in a war zone. The receptionist smiled. "Hi, do you have an appointment today?" "Nope," I said, "but I have a situation." Turns out, if you're a woman on a fertility journey, you get a lot of sympathy. And if you look like you're about to cry but don't, that's a power move. I explained that I was researching potential sperm donors as a backup, and the clinic handed me a folder like it was a menu at Cheesecake Factory. I picked a random donor. Tall, brown eyes, Ivy League. Then I asked the nurse, real casual, would it be possible to get a sample DNA printout? Like, not a full file, just a summary. She nodded, for insurance or family history. Sure, I smiled. 10 minutes later, I walked out with a packet that looked official as hell. I slipped it into an envelope and began writing the letter. Dear Marla, congratulations on your upgrade. In case you're planning on having something real with him one day, here's a head start. A donor profile. Let me know if you'd prefer something authentic next time, unlike your new accessories. Warmest wishes. The barren wife you didn't budget for. I sealed it with a kiss, red lipstick, literal. Then I addressed it to the apartment where I knew she stayed 2 nights a week, because she'd posted the view on her stories. As for him, he was still acting like nothing happened. The audacity. That night, we sat on the couch watching some trashy reality show while he scrolled his phone like his whole life wasn't about to collapse. I watched him laugh at something dumb on TikTok while I rehearsed the monologue I'd give to the court of public opinion. But instead of waiting, I gave him a preview. So, how's Marla doing post-op? I asked sweetly. He stiffened. What? You know, I said, tilting my head, you've always liked working with your hands. Just never thought you'd apply that to holding her boobs for selfies. His jaw dropped. How do you know? Because you're an idiot, I cut him off, and you take photos like you've never heard of metadata. He opened his mouth again, but I kept going. Also, Venmo is public. Also, Jake says hi. Also, you sent nudes of her to the wrong email once. Mine. It wasn't true. But his eyes widened, and I knew I had him. He stood, packing. Look, it wasn't like that. It was just a one-time thing. She was going through something. Yeah, I snapped. A silicone shortage. He flinched like I'd slapped him. I hadn't, yet. I took a breath. You know what's really fun? I said. You paid $7 grand for her boobs. Guess how much I spent? He stared. Nothing, I smiled. I'm turning your betrayal into content. He blinked. What? I'm calling it Fertility, Fraud, and Fake Tits, I said. Mini podcast, blog, probably a YouTube series, featuring dramatic readings of your emails with mood lighting. He finally exploded. You're insane. No, I said, calm now. I'm inspired. And with that, I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry. I just let him stand there in our shared house, wondering how quickly a life can flip when you bet on the wrong body. The next day, the post went viral. I didn't think it would blow up that fast. I uploaded a single post, a stitched TikTok where I held up a baby onesie labeled IVF Fund next to a screenshot of a $7,000 transfer labeled Aesthetic Services. The caption read, when he says he wants a family, but finances someone else's curves instead. 20 minutes later, my phone was melting. The comments section was pure gasoline. NOOO, this can't be real. Girl, you better not take him back. The fact that she let him record before and after pics is sick. Tag her, we want her at. I didn't, not yet, that wasn't the point. This wasn't about her boobs or even him. It was about me finally saying out loud what I'd swallowed for too damn long. I opened my DMs and saw dozens of messages from women with eerily similar stories. Men stealing from shared IVF funds. Women finding out they were the rebound after years of infertility trauma. Plastic surgery gifted like consolation prizes. Apparently, I'd tapped into a whole new genre of pain, reproductive betrayal. And somewhere in all of this mess, I didn't feel alone anymore. But he was spiraling. By noon, he texted me 14 times and called me 5. Can we talk? You're making this worse than it is. You're ruining my career. Oh no, honey, I was just getting started. See, I hadn't even mentioned the worst part yet. That one-time thing he claimed with Marla, I found hotel invoices in our shared email. 3 weekends in Scottsdale, 1 in Tahoe, a couple's massage, a note from the front desk. We hope you enjoyed your romantic stay. Romantic. During the same weeks, we were injecting hormones into my abdomen. I couldn't breathe when I read that one. I remember sitting on the floor in our hallway, holding my phone, trying not to scream. It felt like I was being erased from my own life, one email at a time. But that pain, that choking grief, I turned it into a voiceover. A slow, dramatic scroll of the invoice, layered with me reading his old texts. You're the only woman I'd ever want to raise a family with. The contrast was surgical. And that's when people really took sides. Women were reposting my videos with tags like IVF betrayal and fake fatherhood. One woman even said she played my story during a support group meeting. By that night, I got a message from someone I didn't expect. Marla. Her profile was private, no posts, no bio, just her name and a picture of a sunset. And she wrote, I didn't know about you, I swear. He said you were over. He said you knew about us. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen. I wanted to hate her. I'd rehearsed hating her. But there it was again, that awful, quiet truth I hadn't wanted to face. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was a setup. He'd told her I was gone. He told me she was no one. He used both of us as props in the fantasy life he wanted but didn't deserve. So I replied, let's talk. The next night, I met her in a Starbucks parking lot. It wasn't dramatic. No hair pulling, no screaming. Just 2 women in oversized hoodies, sipping burnt lattes and trading timelines like war stories. And that's when the final piece dropped. She showed me a photo. It was of him on a beach, shirtless, smiling, holding her hand. And on the table in front of them, a baby bottle. My jaw locked. He told me, she whispered, that we were planning a baby, that he was leaving you because you didn't want kids. And that broke me in a different way. Because not only had he stolen our future, he'd rewritten our past. The worst part wasn't that he lied. It's that he lied better than I ever told the truth. He turned my body, my grief, my dream of becoming a mom into some sick narrative where I was the one who didn't want children, where he was the heartbroken man just looking for love and legacy. And she believed him. Honestly, so would I if I hadn't lived it. I kept hearing her words on repeat. He said you didn't want kids. Tell that to the cooler in our closet filled with hormone pens. Tell that to the half-filled baby journal under our bed. Tell that to the scar on my stomach from the first egg retrieval that failed. So yeah, something broke in me, but not the part he expected. The old me would have cried, would have begged for him to explain, would have written sad poems on Pinterest boards titled Letting Go. The new me, she opened Canva. I made an invitation. A very special kind of invitation. It had flowers and soft fonts, looked like something you'd send for a baby shower, but the title read, A Toast to the Truth, read aloud by the betrayed wife. I printed 20 copies, slipped them into envelopes, hand-delivered them to his parents, his boss, and a few mutual friends. I told them I was throwing a small gathering on Sunday, just to clear the air. And then I practiced. I took every message he ever sent me about wanting a family, every fake apology he texted when he got caught, every stupid note from that Marla girl's romantic scrapbook, and folded it into my speech. Sunday came, people showed up. They thought it was a post-fight reconciliation thing. Bless their naive little hearts. He showed up too. Elate. Wearing a button-up shirt like this was a brunch, not a public execution. I stood at the front of the living room with my wine glass and cleared my throat. Thank you all for coming, I said sweetly. Tonight, I want to read you something that helped me understand the depth of my marriage. Everyone clapped politely. Then I read the letter he wrote to Marla, the one that said, "You're the only one who gets me. With you, I feel free to dream again. She wants kids, I just want you." I didn't blink. I let the silence sit like a wet towel on the room. Then I said, "Oh, I forgot to mention. He copied and pasted parts of this from the vows he wrote me in 2018. His mother gasped. Someone's drink clinked awkwardly. He muttered, "Are you seriously doing this?" I smiled, not done. Then I held up a framed copy of the clinic receipt, the $7,001. In case you were wondering, this was never about family planning. This was about body sculpting his mistress. And finally, I handed out party favors, printed screenshots of the side-by-side comparisons from his phone, before and after, timestamps included. The room was dead silent. And then someone, his cousin maybe, snorted, like full-on snorted into their drink. It was over after that. People were awkward laughing, whispering, leaving. He didn't say a word, just stood there like he'd seen a ghost, then walked out the door and didn't even close it behind him. I watched his taillights disappear from the driveway. And all I could think was, God, I hope the fake ones were worth it. I thought revenge would feel like fire. Like screaming, like slamming doors, like throwing his clothes on the lawn and setting them ablaze while, before he cheats, blasts from a Bluetooth speaker. But no. It felt like cold, clean air. The kind that stings when you breathe too deep but tells you, you're finally outside. After everyone left that night, I sat in the quiet house with my untouched wine and my too clean living room and thought, what now? I half expected him to come back, to bang on the door, to cry, to tell me I was overreacting, or that Marla was just a phase, or that the boobs didn't even look that good in person. But nothing. No texts, no calls, just silence. Which would have scared me if I didn't know one thing. He wasn't ashamed. He was planning spin. He was probably already telling his side of the story to anyone who would listen, about how I went crazy, how I never supported his dreams, how he felt trapped. So I decided to own the narrative before he could twist it. I called the clinic. No, I wasn't looking to reschedule the egg retrieval. I had a different kind of deposit in mind. Turns out they had a waiting list for anonymous genetic donors. I applied for a DNA compatibility match, not to use it, but for the paperwork. When the results came in, I made a little care package. It included the clinical report marked high compatibility, a custom Valentine's card reading, hope your new family turns out less synthetic than your last one, and a printed selfie of me holding a sign, real women heal, fakes just inflate. I addressed it to Marla's work, thanks LinkedIn. Slapped a sparkly sticker that said confidential on the envelope for flair. And mailed it. The post went viral within hours. I hadn't even meant to post it publicly, but someone at her office did. She tried to report it to HR. HR forwarded it to legal. Legal apparently recognized the donor clinic's branding. And then poof, the bubble burst. They blocked me, of course, but not before someone from their little friend group sent me a message that just said, "Queen behavior," I screamed. A week later, I started getting DMs from women all over the city. People who had dated him. People who had worked with him. One girl said he tried to start an intimacy coaching side hustle and asked if he could film content with her as practice. You can't make this stuff up. So what do you do when the man you trusted lies, cheats, siphons money, and funds cosmetic surgery for his side piece? You turn it into content. I launched a TikTok series. Girl, no, what not to accept from a man who thinks he's a therapist just because he listens to Joe Rogan. Part 1, signs he's not saving for IVF, he's investing in implants. Part 2, reading my husband's cheating texts in ASMR. Part 3, interview with myself, would I do it again? Spoiler, no, but I'd film it better. Do I still cry sometimes? Yeah, usually when I pass the baby aisle in Target. But I cry with eyeliner on. and I dry my tears with royalty check emails from my monetized trauma. So, did I lose the family I thought I'd build? Maybe. Or maybe I dodged building one with a man who thought fertility treatment was just a cover story for funding a fantasy. Looking back now, maybe I should have said less. Or maybe I finally said enough. Subscribe to my Mia's Stories YouTube channel for raw, emotional stories and authentic insights that encourage healing, growth, and understanding. Don't forget to be part of a supportive space where stories inspire and lessons resonate. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments. Your opinion truly matters to us, and we're here for you.